Hello there, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are, and welcome to our weekly analysis webinar. Today is Monday, the 24th of June, 2024, and this is Mohammed Yaout. I'm the Chief Markets Analyst at PU Prime. Today, as usual, we're going to have a look at the markets to discuss what we are basically expecting to happen during the next week. Basically, the previous week started as a low volatility week. However, we had very, very high volatility movements by the end of the week, especially on Friday. And of course, we are talking about gold, especially what we had during the last week. So today we're going to have a look on the markets. We're going to discuss what we are expecting and as well as what are the most important things to look at on the economic agenda. And this is what we will be discussing during today's webinar. So let's have a look on the markets right now and let's discuss the economic agenda during this week. And today is Monday, the 24th of June. Good morning, everyone. Hello, I'm happy to be here with you. So yes, today is Monday, and basically, let's say it's a light agenda. We don't have many things to look for. And I had a look on the economic agenda just before going live, and basically, it's not that important during this week. We have very, very important things to look at, but generally, it's not a big of a deal, during most of the days. And of course, starting with Monday today, it's the speeches day. So we had some data coming up from the German economy and from the euro economy. It's not that important. And moving forward, you can see we pretty much have nothing to look at during today's trading sessions, but we have a lot of speeches. So starting off with the ECB, we will be having the supervisor from the board member or the supervisory board member, Fernandez Polos, will be having a speech. We have McCall and we have Schnabel also. So three speeches coming from the ECB is something that you should definitely look at. We also have the governor from the Bank of Canada. We also have a speech, and we end the speeches day with Dali from the FOMIC and from the Federal Reserve. So we explained before why it's really important to have a look on these speeches from the central banks, especially in a time where we have a lot of uncertainty. They don't really know what will happen. They don't really know what they were going to do in the next meetings, whether they are going to keep the interest rates as it is or they will be cutting interest rates. So let's see if they're going to say anything important during today. I don't really believe they will, because if they will be saying something important, they need data to change their tone. Okay, whether they will be cutting interest rates, whether they will be leaving it as it is, they need economic data to come first. When they analyze this data, they will start giving important speeches. But so far, there is nothing important. Okay, going through and going forward to Tuesday, the 25th of June, we have the core CPI from the Bank of Canada or from the Canadian economy. So inflation is pretty much really important. We also have the FOMIC speech from the FOMIC member Bowman, and we have the core CPI from the Bank of Japan. Let me tell you something. You will not find this on the economic agenda, but during this week, keep a close eye, very close eye to the Bank of Japan and for the economic data coming out from the Japanese economy, because Bank of Japan during the last week has been giving not threats, but has been giving comments to the markets that we will be intervening in the markets. We will be supporting the Japanese yen. We will be affecting FX rates, which is the forex rates, which they mean as the currency, which is the Japanese yen. So they have been doing this during the last week heavily. And as the Japanese yen continues to slide, as the Japanese yen continues to depreciate in value against the dollar, against the Japanese or against the pound, they keep giving those comments that we will interfere in the markets. We will not leave the FX rates unmonitored and so on. They haven't yet taken any action that's notable on the markets, but I do really believe that this might happen during this week. So keep an eye on the Bank of Japan, keep an eye on the Japanese yen. And let me tell you, never risk more than you could afford to lose on the Japanese yen during this week, especially because in a moment you could find 300 or 400 pips movement to the downside. I mean, to the downside, which means the dollar versus the Japanese yen could continue moving lower, and the pound versus the Japanese yen. So they will support the Japanese yen. The Japanese yen will go higher. So the currency pairs for the Japanese yen will go lower. This is something, as I'm telling you, you will not find it on the economic agenda, but this is something from the news. It's somehow alarming to me. And personally, I will not be trading on the Japanese yen during this week unless I see some certain things that we will be discussing on the technical analysis. So we will be having the core CPI from the Bank of Japan. We will be having the Bowman speech from the Federal Reserve member, or the FOMC. We will be having the core CPI from the Canadian economy. And that's all. We will be having the CB consumer confidence, the consumer confidence from the United States economy is something that we definitely should look for. And again, another speech from Bowman. Don't really pay much attention to someone who will be speaking a lot. So Bowman has 2 speeches tomorrow. If he has something to say, he would say it in the first speech. The second speech will just be, rephrasing of what he already said. Okay. On Wednesday, moving forward, we do have some tiny things to look for when it comes to also speeches from the ECB. We have the ECB's lane. We have building permits from the US economy. We have the home sales. So pretty much some interesting housing sector indicators to be announced on Wednesday. And we also have the crude oil inventories. Haven't been doing much lately. Moving through to Thursday, we have the federal bank stress test results, not that important. BOE financial stability report. We have the continuing jobless claims and the initial jobless claims. We have explained this thoroughly during last week. And we have the durable goods orders and the durable goods, the core durable and the durable goods orders for the month of May. And pretty much that's it. So as you can see, Monday, nothing to look for. Expect for a couple of speeches from ECB, Bank of Canada, and the FOMC. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we do have some tiny things to look at. Friday comes the big day. Friday comes the big day. Why is that? Because simply we have the GDP from the British economy. That's not the big thing to look at. However, we have the PCE, the personal consumption expenditures, which is the main inflation figure that the Federal Reserve basically looks at the moment to know what we will be doing with interest rates. So we have explained previously the CPI, which is the Consumer Price Index. We said more than once that the CPI used to be the main measure of inflation in the US economy. Recently, it's not the PCI or the CPI. It's the PCE, or the personal consumption expenditures, which is another way of measuring inflation in the United States economy. However, the Federal Reserve does really believe that this is the true measure of inflation because it's all mathematics. I don't want you to get complicated or confused by a lot of measurements and calculations. So we'll not be discussing exactly how each one is calculated, but at the end, it's an indicator which comes from a certain way of calculation. The Federal Reserve really believes that the way PCE is calculated measures inflation in a more efficient way than the CPI or the Consumer Price Index. So let's see what will happen. So basically, expectations here on the core PCE price index, this one, it's expected to go lower from 2.8 to 2.6. If this happened, it will definitely be something really good for the Federal Reserve. And it will be bad for the dollar because this means that the Federal Reserve might start thinking of cutting interest rates on the US dollar. I think this will push the dollar lower. And we also have the PCE price index, which is expected to go lower from 2.7 to 2.6. So anyway, expectations are that for the inflation to come lower than the previous reading, and that's of course for May. If it came lower, we have more than one scenario. Is it very much lower? Is it slightly lower? Or is it the same? Worst case scenario, is it higher than expected? So we have many, many scenarios, and accordingly, the dollar will react. And this is the main or the major risk event that we will be having during this week, which is the PCE price index. This is definitely something that you should look at during this week. I think it's time for the technical analysis, is it? Time for technical analysis. If you have any questions or any specific currency pairs or specific financial assets you would like to discuss, just leave it in the comments and I'll definitely look at it today. You mentioned to be careful on JPY, but I'm short on franc JPY for almost a week now. Do you believe that it will go down? It's pretty much good. We have never had a question on franc yen. Let's have a look on the franc yen. The thing is, if you're short on the franc yen, you're only expecting the Bank of Japan to intervene. That's the only way you're going to have a winning trade. It will be a great, super great winning trade. But when this will happen, we don't know. In the meantime, you are short on a very, very bullish trend. That's the risk. So you are betting on the intervention by the Bank of Japan. As soon as they intervene, you definitely have a take profit, or you definitely have a lot of profits on your short trade. But when this will happen, it's something that we cannot say. Anyway, of course, the franc or the Japanese pairs are showing loss of momentum anyway. It's not a bearish divergence, but I can see that it's time for a correction here. Weekly time frame. Are we trading on all-time highs? I think as far as my chart goes back here to May 1972, we are trading near all-time highs on the monthly time frame. We're super bullish on the weekly time frame, super, super bullish. On the daily, another bullish candle, because the previous week we had a bearish candle that was on Thursday. However, we formed support. We are breaking above resistance. So another bullish, super bullish reason. Maybe on the 4-hour time frame, you might have a little luck, because on the 4-hour time frame, we're moving in a sideways range. Not only the franc versus the Japanese yen, but also the pound and the dollar versus the Japanese yen. It's kind of a sideways. However, will this sideways range end to the downside? Will we have an upward break? This is something that we will see during this week. However, technically, on the monthly time frame, weekly and everything, my personal bias, I'm speaking technically, my personal bias is, of course, to go bullish on all the Japanese yen pairs, but I'll not go bullish because technicals say go bullish, fundamentals say that the Bank of Japan might intervene. So my advice to you, Ron, if you are already short on franc yen, make sure that your risk is not so high. Just leave it, okay? It's fine. You can go short because eventually they will intervene in the markets. When is that? We don't know. You don't want your risk to be high that you get stopped out before they do this, okay? So if you're, you know, in a medium to low risk trade, just leave it. It's fine. You do have space. Even if it went higher a little bit, you can still, you know, close it on profits or break even. However, if you are high on your risk, if you have higher risk exposure, no, definitely not. I would advise you to close this trade, okay? So that's for the franc yen. And this is basically an unusual way to start our webinar. We also have another question. I need your vision of pound GPY, and this is from Sharif Gandhi. Okay, pound yen. So let's have a look on the pound or the Japanese yen pairs. On the monthly, of course, it's bullish, but the monthly here is not so bullish. Okay, the previous month basically had a very low, let's say. This low was lower than expected. We couldn't move higher than the previous high. Anyway, this month seems to be more bullish. We already created the lower wick and we're moving higher. And on the weekly time frame, the previous week was super bullish. Again, we had this resistance formed. We went lower, created support, boom. We broke above support and we are definitely moving higher. On the daily time frame, I think it's pretty much the same. Broke above resistance, went for a retest. Guys, the M pairs are just bullish technically as it could ever be. It's again, maybe there is a slight bearish technical setup here. Not sure if it will be. This is a slight technical. Let me get it on the daily time frame. Yeah, what's happening here is a rising wedge. A rising wedge is basically a bearish pattern. So we can see that the momentum is weakening to the upside. Anyway, we still have some room to go higher on the daily time frame, on the weekly time frame. That's about maybe 100 more pips. So on the short term, technically, there is no reason to short the pound versus any, or the Japanese yen, I mean. It's just going lower and lower. So the pound versus the Japanese yen is heading higher. Even on the 1 hour time frame, you can see we are going higher. Let me get you the sessions here. So what's happening here is the last US session of the previous week basically went higher. Asia, of course, it's for the correction. So we moved higher. Europe right now just started around 1 hour ago, and we are breaking above Asia's high. So I think if we continue to trade above the levels of 202.10, we will definitely move higher during the day. That's for the pound Japanese, and that's to answer your question, Sharif. Okay, I'll wait then. Thank you. Oh, now I understand, sir. I'm new here, got no idea on trading. How can I go about it? Just follow our page, PU Prime, on Facebook, because I'll be holding a webinar for beginners. That will be next month. I'll explain a lot about market structure and how to understand a lot about basics of market structure analysis. This will be next month. So just follow our social media and you will get the notice or posts about that. Let's discuss the dollar index. The previous month was basically bearish. We are heading higher this month, okay? We're almost about to close. This is something that you should take care of because we already have like 6 days left in this month. And this monthly candle is risky. Why is that? I'll tell you. We had previous resistance on the dollar index on the monthly time frame, right? During the previous month, we reached this resistance, which was 106.40 roughly, and we had a bearish month. This month was supposed to continue moving bearish. However, we moved higher to form the upper wick. So far, we are almost at the end of the month, and we didn't turn lower yet to continue this bearish move. This means one of two things. Either that the dollar index will create support here to continue moving higher and break the previous resistance, or that the next 6 days in this month should or could see a very bearish move lower to create a new low. Okay, so this will turn out to be a bearish monthly candle, but you only have 6 days left to see this. Do you know what this means? This means that the next PCE or inflation figure that we explained, which will be announced on Friday, this means that this inflation number should come very lower than expected. So markets will start selling the US dollar heavily to turn this monthly candle into a bearish one. I know what I'm saying are just, possible scenarios, but it's something that we could take care of. On the monthly time frame anyway, so far, yeah, we have had scenarios, but the overall bias is neutral. I don't have a really bias on the monthly time frame. On the weekly, we are trading sideways. On the weekly, we had 3 previous bullish weeks. We are just below resistance. On the daily time frame, we don't really have a bias so far, but slightly moving higher, slightly going into the bullish zone. This candle is moving lower, maybe to have a retest to this level, because it was previously resistance. We moved higher. Maybe you're going to retest the levels of 105.50. The 4-hour time frame is bearish. So yeah, overall, we are definitely moving lower on the dollar index during the day. And we'll have a look on the levels of 105.50 for a possible maybe move higher. Okay. If we want to do mapping, because I like to place scalping, I mean, is the time frame 5 minutes, 15 minutes suitable for me to enter the layer if I already see black up to sell? I'm not sure, I'm not entirely sure what you mean. Can you please just rephrase your question? So basically, if I understand you, sir, we're going on bullish on DXY, which means the US pairs will be sinking. No, I didn't say we're bullish on the dollar. I'm saying that we'll have to play it move by move. So right now, what we are expecting is a move lower to retest the levels of 105.50. A break below the levels of 105.50 would definitely mean we're moving lower. And to me, on the general outlook, I'm basically bearish on the dollar. So that's what I really believe will happen. I'm bearish on the US dollar. The monthly, the weekly, everything says that we are slightly bearish on the dollar. And yes, again, we can see another rising wedge here. This overall tells you that the momentum to the upside is weak, really weak. Okay, corrections are just too soon. So whenever we just move above the previous high, we have a correction. The same one happened here. This definitely means that the momentum is weak. So no, I'm not bullish on the dollar index. I am bearish on during this week. And of course, everything will be decided when the PCE figures are announced. On the euro versus the dollar, pretty much moving in a sideways range. Did we reach this level of support? Yep. It's a clear symmetrical triangle. During the previous week, we reached the levels of the lower limit. So I think we'll be heading higher. We are already starting to head higher on the daily and the weekly, of course, as well as the 4-hour time frame. We have a bullish divergence. So I'm bearish on the dollar. I'm bullish on the euro. We also have the same exact pattern that we saw on the dollar, but on the other side, those two lows were quite around the same level. So it might be a double bottom here. We are targeting the levels of 1.0750. A break above will definitely continue the move higher. So during the week, the euro is bullish as well. The pound is pretty much the same. However, the pound is slightly more difficult because we have this key level of support and resistance. So it was previously resistance, acted as support once, twice, three times, four times, a break below. We are heading higher for a retest. It's not so far away. It's around maybe 15 pips away. So all of this is basically, to me, might be a false breakout. So that was a clear top formation. It might be a false breakout and a move higher might be expected to the levels of 1.2740. Why am I saying that this is a false breakout? Because it's pretty much simple. If you have support 1, 2, 3, 4, and when you break, you fail to have bearish momentum and you have a bullish divergence here. Momentum is not able to move lower. This means that this break lower was with weak momentum to the downside. This means to me personally that this break might turn out to be a false breakout and we might end up moving higher again. Anyway, when it comes to the pound, your eyes should be on the 1.2680 levels. A break above this level one more time, this means this will definitely be a false breakout. We will have our targets then around 1.2740 and 1.2850. Those are the targets on the pound versus the Japanese yen. Okay, the pound versus the dollar, sorry. My mind is just, connected to the Japanese yen. When it comes to the dollar versus the yen, nothing. We are almost around to reach the levels of a new all-time high because this monthly candle here is just around to touch this wick, and this wick is the all-time high on the dollar versus the Japanese yen. And what you see here is a textbook example of a wick fill. So you have a wick, prices went lower. When prices go higher one more time, it must fill this wick. So currently we are trading around 159.70. I think we are heading higher more than 50 pips to touch this high. And remember when I said to you that I might sell the dollar versus the Japanese yen on one condition? My condition is if we reach this level on the dollar yen 160.23, this was an intervention by the Bank of Japan. So they might try to intervene one more time before letting prices go in an all new time high. This is where personally, I'm talking about my personal strategy, I might look at a short position with a very small risk, but I'll just, leave it and wait for the intervention by the Bank of Japan. There's pretty much nothing to say more on the dollar versus the Japanese yen. This candle, that was a weekly candle and we had more than 536 pips. This is what I mean. This is the intervention by the Bank of Japan. And I'm probably looking to have, where is it? Let me get you not sure if I can find it here. Yeah, I'm pretty much looking to see something like this happening again from here. Maybe, let's see. But on the short time frame, if you're looking to trade on the dollar versus the Japanese yen, we are expecting an upward move of around 50 pips. Okay. Morning, everyone. Happy Monday. So basically, if I understand, sir, please check the dollar franc. Okay, we don't often check the dollar franc, but let's do it here. And I can see a loss of momentum. This is definitely a correction of the previous upward move, 100%. Guys, do you know the difference between a reversal price action and a correction price action? okay? This is a downtrend, and this is a reversal. So if we were moving higher, sorry, if we were moving higher like this, and we start to see a move lower like this, where corrections don't overlap in their price range, this is a reversal, okay? However, a correction is something like this. Here you will see that the corrections, let me do it this for the sake of explanation, corrections here will overlap in their price territory. So this is what I mean. On the 4-hour time frame, you can see that was the first correction. Not long after the first correction, we had another one. Not long after this correction, we had another one. So overall, the move to the downside is weak. This is how we know that this move is definitely a correction of the main or the major trend here. So on the weekly, we can see we reached very good resistance levels. On the dollar versus the franc, we are moving lower. However, don't forget, this might be a correction, but the previous week was pretty much support. Previous week was support. So maybe we're looking for a correction upward to the correction downward. I know it's getting a little bit confused, and I don't really like the dollar franc for this price action. Anyway, move lower, correction, move lower, move higher. I think we're going to target this level during the week. So I'm looking for something like this on the dollar franc. On the 4-hour time frame, yes, exactly. So we had a move lower base. That's a demand zone, a very powerful demand zone. So it's a drop base rally, and we are moving maybe lower to regain momentum one more time and move higher. This is a 4-hour time frame. So let's, yes, okay. On the 4-hour, we are losing momentum. So this is what I believe could happen. Maybe. Because anyway, we are bearish on the dollar index. So the dollar versus the franc might go down a little bit. If you're looking for shorts, maybe yes, it's a good idea to short the dollar versus the franc. However, I'll put some conditions here. We had two equal highs. Prices formed one high here, moved lower, another equal high. If we break this low, which is 0.8925, I'm sorry, we will definitely have a look on the shorts for the dollar franc. Thank you, sir. Almost same expectations like me. That's good. I think you are good in price action, because price action is really what matters at the end of the day. Have a look on the pound versus the Japanese yen. Oh, we have explained this already. Let's discuss gold. What is happening on gold? What a great move lower that we had on Friday. So during the New York session, we moved so much lower, around 300 pips. Oh, 500 pips. Okay. What are we expecting during this week? Let's see. Previous week was a bearish week. Okay. We have support here. Remember, it's the same support. We have resistance here, 2,400. So we respected support. We moved higher. This is where price action becomes somehow confusing. If I tell you this weekly candle, the previous week, is it bullish or bearish? What would you say? Please write in the comment section. This previous week on gold, is it bullish or bearish? Okay, I'll give you a minute to answer. It's bullish. Okay. Thank you, Mohanad, for sharing your time and knowledge. Those analysis is a great start of the week. Thank you very much. That's my job. We have 1, 2, 3 say they are bullish. Jafar says bearish. To be honest, I wouldn't blame anyone for saying bullish or bearish because if you're going to look at the body of the candle, it's bearish. The close was bearish. If you're going to look at the highs and lows, it's bullish because at the end of the day, we managed to form a new higher high and a new higher low. So it's bullish. We moved higher during the week, but the close was just lower than the opening of the week. So it's bullish in terms of market structure. It's bearish in terms of the close. Break, I'll not be looking at your analysis. I'll not be looking at your analysis right now, Donovan. Let's just see what I believe, and then I'll see whether you believe it will be the same or not, okay? So the weekly doesn't really give me any bias here. And yes, here what I can see is this is not a reversal. As we said, this is not a reversal price action. So I don't really believe that we will be breaking the support 2285. I'll believe that we might be moving higher because we just touched support. We're moving higher. Maybe. Let's see what we do have on the 4-hour time frame. Okay. What I really believe will happen on gold, it's a move lower, it's a retracement, another move lower. We are looking for a high, which could be lower than the previous high, and then we will be moving lower to test the support. Okay. So anyway, because that was a move lower, that was a retracement of this move lower. It was a big retracement, let me say. It even exceeded 61.80, but yeah, that was a move lower, retracement. This whole move was a retracement of this quick move that happened. Another quick move. So we're expecting a retracement of this one. But if you can see here that the previous move on gold, it previously broke the previous low. So we are now having a lower low. We might see a lower high before targeting the levels of support 2285 during the week. So yes, currently I'm slightly bullish on gold during the week or during, let's say, the beginning of the week. And then I'll be looking to short. Okay, so let's see what our people here think of gold. Donovan says that we break 2335. Where is 2335? Okay, we target 2345, then 2360. I think this is a little bit far away. If we close below 2335, today is a bearish downtrend. I slightly agree with you, but I don't agree with the condition of closing above or breaking the 2335. And let me tell you why. I think this might be the last thing to talk about during this session. I want you guys to understand price action, okay? See this downward move, which was the great downward move during the previous week, right? What happened is Asia for this week slightly traded sideways. Slightly traded sideways. So it started here, it ended here, not pretty much of a move. What happened in Europe? They immediately broke above the high for Asia. The high for Asia is a resistance here, right? So I think this was our entry signal to buy gold during the day. This 1 hour time frame is already about to close. It already formed a higher high and a higher low. We might go back a little bit to test, but I'm thinking that we are already going higher. So it's not 2335 to me. Personally, it's 2327. That's the high for Asia. As long as we're trading above 2327, I'm bullish on gold during the day. If, however, we broke below, this is what we call as liquidity sweep during the beginning of European session and will continue to move lower. So guys, 2327 is your key make or break level on gold trading during the day. Okay, Anyway, we have provided you with a weekly time frame analysis. As I'm telling you, I'm expecting a move higher. And this move higher, I will have my targets on Fibonacci. So I'll be looking anywhere around this previous price action, maybe 50%. 50% Fibonacci is something that I'll be targeting, 2342, which is your second target, Donovan. And from there, I'll be taking my money out, I'll be booking my profits, and I'll look for shorts back. Anyway, guys, you need to understand that this weekly analysis, although I'm doing my best to provide you with a weekly analysis or a weekly overview, we must wait for data from the dollar index, from the speeches from the central banks, because yeah, things can shift from a day to another. So, sir, I have bearish perception from around 2340 to the grave all the way. I might slightly agree with you, Jaffer. It's maybe not 2340, maybe 2345 something, but yeah. So holding gold for long would be ideal for the week. No, not for the week. If you want to sell gold, just wait a little bit. Maybe after $15 up, we will be looking for shorts. In the meantime, today, we might be looking for longs. Thanks a lot for your tuition. Still understanding accumulation, manipulation, and distribution depends on what banks decide to do. Thanks a lot. Exactly, yes. So we just prepare scenarios and just wait on the new ongoing events. Can you please tell me the correct way to enter the entry when we have seen a black up? Because sometimes this black up is fake. It's not a black up that we are supposed to enter either sell or buy. I mean, do you mean breakout? And if you want to know when a breakout is valid or it's not, you will have to wait for a webinar to explain this because it's a lot of details. Okay, it depends on the candle, it depends on the session timing. I mean, if you're looking for a breakout when there is volume in the market, when London session is open, when the US session is open, it's a strong breakout. But if markets don't have much liquidity, let's say it's between two sessions or at the end of Asian session or whatever, there are some times that you just shouldn't be trading. This is when breakouts often happen. Sir Fibonacci, how to pull for entry? Can't explain. Fibonacci, it's simple. If you're looking for a retracement of this downward move, you just start from the lower, or from the higher high to the lower low, and it's already gives you the numbers for Fibonacci. Thank you for your insights. I don't need any mentor after this. That's a pleasure. Thank you very much. And thank you again for your insights. I think we just can wrap this up here. Right now, we have explained pretty much everything that we need to look at. Oil, we basically are bearish on oil. We are still bearish. And the Dow Jones, pretty much nothing to discuss. We are in a sideways range, continuing to move in a sideways. So yeah, I think there is a question here that we didn't answer. No, it's not. Thank you for your valuable information. That's a pleasure of mine. Thank you very much. And I'll see you again during the next week at the same time. Thank you very much for your joining. Thank you for, hopefully we're gonna be at least 1,000 there. Is it another word for millionaire or something? Okay, hopefully. Thank you very much. I'll meet you guys next week at the same time. It was a pleasure. Please trade safe. Please keep your risk management rules strict. And please avoid having high risk exposure on the Japanese yen during this week. Thank you so much, guys. Stay safe.